Hi and welcome to this lesson on gender and crime. This lesson we're going to be looking at the patterns of offending behaviour between different genders. We're going to look at some of the factors affecting criminal behaviour for the different genders and what do the theories think about this. So as a starter, what I'd like you to have a look at is the cartoon. According to the cartoon, what reasons would you give for male offending? And what other reasons could you give for the differences in offending rates? So why do you think it is that boys perhaps commit more crime than girls? So pause, work through this at your own pace. So some key statistics. Now the first statistic might be a good one to have in your book. The rest is up to you. So 90% of people found guilty of things like burglary, robbery, drug offences and criminal damage are male. Generally about 80% of all crime is committed by men. Men are 60 times more likely to be found guilty for things like sexual offences, more guilty for possession of weapons, criminal damage, and also for theft. So the statistics are showing that men are significantly more likely to be in prison as well. So based on statistics last year, there was about over 82,000 people in prison, 78,000 of those were men. So on the end of this PowerPoint, there is also this in a bit more, in a bigger size if you want to use it. So this is going through all the kind of key areas that we're going to look at. So what I would suggest, we're going to do it slightly different on the video than we would in the lesson, is to use the information on each slide to add some key elements. You don't need to use every single thing from the PowerPoint, but just some key ideas for each thing. A lot of these we have already done, so it's just building on that knowledge and applying it to gender. So first one, inaccurate statistics. So statistics, as we've done quite a few times, are not accurate. Females do tend to commit less visible crimes that are less likely to be detected, so therefore less likely to be reported and recorded. They're not as obvious crimes to the police, so they kind of get away with it a little bit more. Also, chivalry thesis, which we're going to look at in a bit more detail, means that women are treated a lot more leniently perhaps than men would. So the I'm an expert thing links to if you're in the lesson, so don't worry about the I'm an expert things. So feminist explanations. There's a number of feminist explanations. So the first one is that it's down to your socialization. So men are socialized to be more aggressive, rough. Women are perceived as less risk-taking, more cautious. That's how you've been brought up. Second one could be a lack of opportunity. So, for instance, women just might not have the chances to commit those types of crimes. So, for instance, like if we link it back to what we did with families and education, so bedroom culture, triple shift, glass ceiling, women just don't have the same opportunities to commit crime. You could also link it into social control and one of our key studies, which would be Carlin, which we're going to do next lesson. So Carlin would argue that women are a lot more controlled. So this would be in terms of in the home, in workplaces. Women don't have the same levels of freedom as men do. And there is also a kind of threat to women if they do engage in deviant behaviour, because it might threaten their reputation. They might be seen as less feminine if they do go out and commit crime. One thing I would say is try to think about stuff that we've done in other units that you could apply. So, functionalists then. So, feminists are very critical of functionalists because they don't really talk about gender when discussing crime. So, a lot of the arguments we've already looked at, so for instance, status frustration, subcultures, they're only really looking at male kind of delinquency, male offending. Not really are any of the key ideas that we've looked at so far focusing on female offending. Marxist explanations. So, Marxists, again, say very little about gender. They're mostly focusing on social class. But as things kind of change, what we might see with women having greater opportunities in the workplace is maybe there might be a lot more things like white-collar crime, and women kind of committing crimes like fraud because they've got those experiences in the workplace. Interactionist. So this one is talking all about labelling, stereotyping, and they're basically they're to blame for the kind of high rates of male offending. So males are more likely to be labelled and stereotyped, And also, if you think about things like masculinity, you know, for some males it's seen as masculine to be fighting, to get involved with things like football hooliganism. Whereas females are kind of discouraged from this, you know, it's not very feminine, so it's kind of linking into all those kind of labels and stereotypes. Final one, chivalry thesis. So this is the idea that the male-dominated courts, police system are a lot easier and more lenient on women. So women are seen as kind of less guilty, more vulnerable. We need to protect them, and therefore then get lesser sentences. They're often seen as sad rather than bad and in need of help rather than punishment. So it's, oh, let's look at the reason why the woman's doing that rather than treating her in the same way that a man would be. So the example that I've put here, and there's a couple of YouTube videos which if you go to the PowerPoint in the shared area, you'll be able to click on. And it's basically talking about this student who was aspiring to be a surgeon and she stabbed her boyfriend. And the judge decided to not send her to prison as it was damaging her career. Now, I do think this kind of fits in this example that, you know, if it was a man who would have done this, he would have definitely have gone to prison. So have a little think about, do you think this is still something that applies today? Should women be treated, you know, if you're a woman, do you want to be treated equally in the prison system? So, the part 2 to this lesson, so if you were in the lesson when we did this, this is basically where we got up to due to the remembrance stuff. So, I'll put 2 1-mark questions on there for you to have a go at. So, what term is commonly used by sociologists to describe the lenient treatment of women? And what term is commonly used by sociologists to describe public concern caused by the media's reporting? So, have a go at those. So, is this kind of pattern that we've looked at changing? So, although men still are committing more crime, this is starting to change a little bit. So there is a growing increase in the number of crimes committed by women. Women are less likely still, though, to receive custodial sentences. You could link this to perhaps, you know, women have more responsibilities. They may have childcare, things like that. So all of those are normally taken into account when giving punishments. And yeah, the trends over the past decade have been for them to receive shorter, immediate custodial sentences. So, which side do you kind of agree with? So I'm going to give you 2 contrasting opinions. So, firstly, the police are more likely, I'm more likely to arrest and charge males, and therefore males are more likely to appear in crime statistics, or males commit more crime than females. So, try to come up with which one do you think is right. So, is it that males are committing more crime, or is it just that they're more likely to be targeted by the police? So which side do you agree with? So when doing your conclusion, don't use the word I. So looking at the evidence, which presents the best argument. So I've also put some 3-mark practice questions on here for you to have a go at. So outline 3 reasons why there are differences in the crime rates of males and females. Describe what is meant by status frustration, and describe 3 reasons for differences in offending between ethnicities. Ignore that one because actually we've not done ethnicity yet. So hopefully that will you'll find that helpful. Let me know if you've got any issues. Email me while you're at home, and I'll do my best to help you from here. Okay, thanks so much. Bye.